welcome back to CRT's Cozy Corner, Shakespeare Edition. We have a couple of comedies under our belts now, so I thought today we would dive into one of my favorite tragedies, Macbeth. So go ahead and take a deep breath with me. Very good, and we will begin. On a barren, empty plain, three witches met, greeting each other by strange, unearthly names. All around them the thunder crackled and the lightning flashed. Not far off, a battle was raging. "Where shall we three meet again?" asked the first witch. "The heath," replied the second. "To talk with Macbeth," said the third. "By then the hurly-burly will be done. The battle will have been lost and won." Then off they went, through swirling mists and fog, their chanting growing ever fainter in the wind. At the battle camp, Duncan, King of Scotland, stood anxiously waiting for tidings. His country was at war. The Thane of Cotter had turned traitor, joining with the King of Norway. Together their armies had marched across Scotland, seeking to defeat the Scottish king. What would be the outcome? At last, a bloodied soldier brought the news. "We've won," he gasped. "The King of Norway begs for a truce. The traitor, the Thane of Cotter, has been defeated." "And what about our generals, Macbeth and Banquo?" asked the king. "They fought bravely. The other traitor, MacDonald, was killed by valiant Macbeth. He sliced him from the belly to his teeth and fixed his head on our battlements." "Great news!" cried Duncan. He turned to one of his men. "Ross, go and greet Macbeth and tell him he has a new title, Thane of Cotter." He told him, "What Cotter has lost, noble Macbeth has won." Blood-stained and battle-weary, the two generals, Macbeth and Banquo, came trudging over the hedge. It was wreathed in thick clouds of mist that pressed down on them, heavy and damp against their skin. "So foul and fair a day I have not seen," said Macbeth. "Nor I," replied Banquo. "But wait," he called. Strange shapes were emerging from the mist, hunched over with scraggly hair and outstretched claws that beckoned them closer. "What are they?" Banquo whispered. "What are these wild and withered creatures?" "Speak if you can," commanded Macbeth. "Greetings, Macbeth, Thane of Glamis," said the first witch. Greetings, Macbeth, Thane of Cawdor," cried the second, and the third, "Greetings, Macbeth, our future king." "What's this?" whispered Macbeth. I am Thane of Glamis, but not of Cawdor, and to be king, that's beyond belief. A dream, maybe, but we already have a king, and he has 2 sons. I have no immediate claim to the throne." "And what of me?" asked Banquo. "Speak if you can look into the seeds of time." "Lesser than Macbeth, and greater," chanted the witches. "Not so happy, yet much happier. You will beget kings, though you will not be one." "Tell me more," begged Macbeth, but the witches vanished like breath into the wind. Then came footsteps. 2 more figures appeared out of the mist. "Who goes there?" called Banquo. "Ross and Angus," came the reply. "We've come from the king," said Ross, "with praise for your bravery on the battlefield, and for you, Macbeth, the king gives you a great reward. He has made you Thane of Cotter." "Thane of Cotter?" exclaimed Macbeth, and then, beneath his breath, "Glamis and now Cotter. The witch's prophecy has come true. And Macbeth is king? The greatest prize of all? I hardly dare to think. Could that happen too?" Banquo was watching him closely. "A word?" he said. "Are you dwelling on the witch's prophecy? For they are instruments of darkness," he warned. "Their prophecies can only lead to harm." But Macbeth stayed wrapped in thought. "Oh, to be king," he murmured. "Stars, hide your light, so that I may keep my dark desires hidden. No one must guess. Could chance do it? Could chance make me king? For the only other way I see is murder, and the very thought makes my heart knock against my ribs. Then, tearing himself away from his dreams, he addressed the other men. "Let us go," he said, "to the palace and our king." There, King Duncan, welcomed them. "And tonight, Macbeth," he declared, "we will dine with you at your castle." In haste, Macbeth wrote to his wife, telling her everything, and rode ahead to meet her. In her curtained chamber, Lady Macbeth read her husband's letter and smiled. "The witches called him king," she cried, "and he will be one. It has long been our dream. Only Duncan and his son stand between us in power. I will make it happen. If King Duncan comes to our castle, then this is our chance, for only murder will make Macbeth a king. And yet, do I dare murder Duncan within our battlements tonight?" Lady Macbeth rose and paced her chamber, her smile cold. "Yes, I dare," she vowed, "but I fear Macbeth's nature. He's too full of the milk of human kindness, and too full of fear. How to persuade him? I'll use the courage of my tongue to crush any objection." She stiffened her spine and stood tall. "Come, spirits," she commanded. "Thicken my blood so I feel no remorse. Fill me from head to toe with the direst cruelty. No compassion shall keep me from my purpose." That night, King Duncan, his servants, and his sons feasted well at Macbeth's castle. Macbeth watched them, knowing what his wife had planned, to drug the king's guardsmen, leaving him free to kill the sleeping king and lay the blame on them. But now he was full of creeping, nagging doubt. He left the table and slipped away from his guests, while his wife followed so close behind him. "What's this?" she demanded. "Why are you leaving your guests? Everything is planned. Are you failing me?" "We will go no further with this business," replied Macbeth. "Duncan is a humble, virtuous king. I am his kinsman and his subject. I should guard him from murder, not bear the knife myself." "Coward," spat his wife. "Find your courage and we'll not fail. I'll slip a potion in his servants' drinks. Then they'll be so drunk that you and I can do what we like to the unguarded king, and they will bear the guilt. We'll clamor and roar with grief so no one shall doubt us. Promise me you'll be a man and do it." She spoke with a voice of steel. Virtue fought with ambition, and ambition won. "I promise," vowed Macbeth. He waited until everyone had gone to bed so he could walk the corridors alone. The night seemed thick with witchcraft as he made his way to Duncan's door. And there, hovering in the air, was a dagger, the handle pointing towards his hand, and on its blade, great gouts of blood. "Is this a dagger I see before me?" Macbeth faltered, staring at it. It looked every inch real, and yet how could a dagger hang dripping with blood in mid-air? "It's just a vision," Macbeth told himself. "The bell tolls. It is time the deed was done." All too quickly, Macbeth was in and out of Duncan's room, and now his skin was smeared with royal blood. He hurried back down the corridors and held out his hands to his wife. "Look," he said in a voice that shook, "I'm a sorry sight." But his wife spared him no pity. "A sorry sight? What a foolish thing to say! I would have done the deed myself, except—" She hesitated. "Except the king looked like my father as he slept. But why have you brought the daggers? Take them and smear the servants with Duncan's blood." "I can't go back," cried Macbeth. "I'm too afraid to look on what I've done." "I'll go then. Give me the daggers." When she returned, her hands were blood-stained too. "But see," she said, smiling, washing her hands until they were gleamed white again. "A little water clears us of this deed." That night, a storm raged, and the air was filled with strange screams and howls. First light brought with it a hammering at the castle door. "Knock, knock, knock, knock," echoed around the castle walls. "Wake Duncan with your knocking," thought Macbeth. "I wish you could." The porter woke. The doors were opened, and in came Macduff and Lennox, two of the king's men. "Is the king awake?" asked Macduff. "Not yet," replied Macbeth. "Let me show you to his room." Macduff and Lennox went in. First out came Macduff, scrambling, his hands covering his eyes, crying, "Oh, horror, horror, horror! The king's been murdered!" The bells rang. Everyone came rushing. Lady Macbeth, the king's sons, Malcolm and Donalbain, all asking, "What has happened? What's amiss?" "Your royal father has been murdered," said Macduff. "By whom?" demanded Malcolm. "By his own servants, it would seem," said Lennox, as he joined them. They were standing outside his room, their hands and faces covered with his blood, and I found daggers unwiped beneath their pillows. They stared at me in confusion. Macbeth let out a cry and rushed to the king's chamber. Not long after he emerged, shaken, his face pale. "Forgive me," he said, "but in my fury I have killed the servants." "Why did you do that?" Macduff asked him. "Now we have no chance to question them." "How could I restrain myself, loving Duncan as I did? There he lay, his silver skin laced with the golden blood, and the murderers next to him, their daggers steeped in gore." There was a cry, and everyone turned as Lady Macbeth reached out and looked as if she were to fall. "Oh, help me," she cried. "I cannot bear it any more." In the uproar, the king's sons huddled close. "There's more to this than meets the eye," they whispered. "Whoever killed our father could kill us next. Let's get away from here." "I'll go to Ireland," said Donalbain. "And I to England," Malcolm said. "Farewell." With Duncan dead and his sons fled, Macbeth could claim the throne. He spread the rumor that Duncan's sons had plotted to kill their father and quickly had himself crowned king at Scone. The deed was done. "He has it all," thought Banquo, pacing outside Macbeth's castle. Just as the witches promised. King, Glamis, Cotter, everything. And yet, I fear he got it by foul means. "A moment, Banquo," called Macbeth, striding out of the castle. "Will you dine with us tonight?" "Yes, my lord, but first my son Fleance and I will ride." Macbeth nodded. "Then I hope your horses are swift and sure of foot." But to Banquo's departing back he hissed, "What was it the witches said? They held him father to a line of kings. If no son of mine succeeds me, then it is for Banquo's sons that I have murdered Duncan and tortured my own mind. What is it to be king if I live in fear? And I fear only Banquo." "Come," he cried, and with a gesture he summoned 2 soldiers, waiting in the shadows by the castle walls. "Go after Banquo," he instructed, "as we discussed last night. Rid me of him and his son." "We will, your highness," vowed the soldiers. Out in the night, the murderers lay in wait for Banquo and his son. The sound of hoofbeats came nearer and nearer until, at the last moment, when it seemed as if the horses would pass right by them, the murderer struck out. With his last words, Banquo cried out, "Oh, treachery! Run, Fleance, run!" Fleance fled, blinded by the night. The murderers were forced to let him go. "We failed and have our mission," they said. "Let us return to Macbeth and tell him what we've done." The dining table was set. Round it gathered Lady Macbeth, Ross, Lennox, and other lords and ladies. Macbeth, with news of Banquo's death fresh in his mind, surveyed the scene. "Come," said Lennox, "grace us with your royal company." "Here's an empty seat," added Ross. Macbeth made his way to the seat, then gave a strange cry. There sat Banquo's ghost, his head bloodied, his throat cut. Macbeth pointed his hand, wavering. "Don't shake your gory locks at me." The others turned and looked, staring blankly. They saw no vision of a bloodied ghost. "You're forgetting yourself," hissed his wife. She turned to her guests, who were half rising from their chairs. "Fear not," she said. "His Highness is not well." "Get out of my sight," Macbeth cried, his eyes fixed on Banquo's ghost. "Your blood is cold. You stare at me with sightless eyes. Get out, you vile shadow." For a moment, Macbeth shielded his eyes, and when he dared to look again, the ghost had vanished. He turned on his guests, who stared at him in fear and confusion. "How can you see such things?" demanded Macbeth, "and keep rubies in your cheeks while mine are blanched in fear?" "What things?" asked Ross. "There's nothing to see." "Don't speak to him," said Lady Macbeth. He grows worse and worse. The king is unwell. Everyone go at once." As ordered, the guests rose from their chairs. "Good night," said Lennox. "We wish you better health." Lady Macbeth waited until she was alone with her husband. "What made you act so?" she demanded. "I had Banquo killed," Macbeth replied, "and yet I swear I saw him, his bloodied ghost, at that chair. But Fleance is still alive. I have scorched the snake, not killed it, and Macduff, Thane of Fife, did not come tonight. Is he against me, do you think?" "Come," said his wife. "Do not think of this. You are making yourself unwell. You must sleep." "There is no contentment to be had even with this crown upon my head," Macbeth said. "Tomorrow I'll go to the heath again and see if I can find the weird sisters there. I have to know the worst. I am now so steeped in this vast river of blood, there is no turning back." In a cavern on the heath, the three witches were huddled around their cauldron. "3 times the tabby cat has mewed," said one. "3 times the hedgehog has whined," said another. "It's time," said the third. As one, they began to chant. As they chanted, they danced around the cauldron. "Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Eye of newt and toe of frog, rule of bat and tongue of dog. Adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg and owlet's wing. Cool it with a baboon's blood, and then the charm is firm and good." They took from their pockets all kinds of slithering, greasy, feathery things and flung them in the pot, cackling all the while. Before them, the cauldron simmered and bubbled, belching out great wreaths of smoke. "Secret and midnight hags," Macbeth called out as he entered their cavern. Not one of them turned. Instead, they continued to gaze at their bubbling cauldron. "Please," begged Macbeth, "tell me what I need to know." As he spoke, an apparition rose from the cauldron. "Macbeth, Macbeth," it whispered, "beware Macduff. None of woman born shall harm Macbeth. Macbeth shall never be defeated until Birnam Wood comes to Dulcinane Hill." "Then I am safe," cried Macbeth. "What need I fear from Macduff or any man, if no one born of woman can hurt me? And who can command Birnam Wood to make the trees pull up their roots? No one. I will be king all my life. But tell me one more thing. Will Banquo's sons ever reign in this kingdom?" "Do not seek to know more," said the first witch. "Deny me and I'll curse you," vowed Macbeth. "Then show his eyes and grieve his heart," chanted the witches, and 8 kings appeared before him, all golden-haired and wearing crowns, followed by Banquo's smiling ghost. "So it's true. Banquo's sons shall reign." "It's true," laughed the witches and vanished. "It's a cursed hour. Who's there?" Macbeth called, hearing footsteps approaching on the heath. "It's Lennox, my lord. I was told I could find you here. I come with a message. Macduff, Thane of Fife, has fled to England." "Fled to England?" muttered Macbeth. "So he has turned against me. Well, if I cannot get to him, I'll deal with the children and wife he left behind." Gripped with paranoia and fear, Macbeth seized the town of Fife, then raided Macduff's castle and had his wife and children murdered. His reign had turned into one of terror, but all the while in England, Malcolm and Macduff plotted to restore the throne to its rightful king. A gulf opened up between Macbeth and his wife. He was possessed only by the desire to hold the throne at all costs. She was possessed by guilt. At Dunsinane Castle, Lady Macbeth paced the floor every night, her eyes open even in sleep, muttering about the things she had done. At last her maid, worried for her sanity, called for a doctor. "You say she talks in her sleep?" said the doctor. "What does she say?" "I cannot tell you," said the maid. "Ah!" cried the doctor. "Here she comes. She carries a candle in her hand. It stands by her bedside. She must always have a light by her. Those are her orders," the maid told him. "She paces and she rubs her hands," remarked the doctor. "She often does that," replied the maid. "Here's the spot," cried Lady Macbeth. She stopped and started rubbing desperately at her hands. "Hark," said the doctor, "she speaks. Out, vile spot, out, I say. Will my hands never be clean? The Thane of Fife had a wife, where is she now? Oh, who would have thought the old man could have had so much blood in him? Said the doctor. She said something she should not. What secrets is she keeping? Oh, she speaks again. Will my hands never be clean? Lady Macbeth muttered. And I still have the smell of blood on them. All the perfumes of Arabia could not sweeten this little hand. To bed, to bed, to bed. She carries heavy secrets in her heart. Will she go now to bed? Asked the doctor. She will, replied the maid. God forgive us all, said the doctor. She needs a priest, not a doctor. Look after her. The doctor found Macbeth busy with his troops under the shadow of the castle walls. How is my wife? Asked Macbeth. She is not ill, replied the doctor, but she is troubled with visions that keep her from rest. Well then, said Macbeth, cure her diseased mind, and as for me, I need a cure for my country. Can you do that? You see, I am dressed for war. Have you heard the news? My thanes, my men are all deserting me. Malcolm has returned to Scotland, and he has brought with him English troops. Macduff marches at his side, but I am not afraid of death, not until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane. In Birnam Wood, Malcolm stood at the head of a vast army. I want every soldier to break off a branch and hold it in front of him, he declared. That way we'll hide our numbers from the tyrant Macbeth until it's too late. The time has come. Armies, march! Advance to Dunsinane! Let them come, cried Macbeth when a messenger brought the news that an army was approaching. Our castle is strong enough to laugh off their siege. And then from the battlements came a strange, piercing cry that seemed to hang out in the air even after it had gone. What was that? Said Macbeth. A servant came running. The queen is dead, he said, still panting for breath. She has taken her own life. Macbeth froze for a moment, his face expressionless. My wife should have died another day. For now there is not time to think of it, he said starkly. But it filled his thoughts nonetheless. Oh, tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. The days creep along until the end of time, and each one that passes only brings fools closer to their death. Each life is a candle burning briefly, only to be snuffed out, he said to himself. This life is nothing but an illusion, an actor strutting about the stage. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, meaning nothing. But Macbeth only paused for a moment to dwell on his wife's sudden death. For now the messengers came thick and fast with news of war. My lord, said one, I should say what I saw, but I do not know how to. Speak quickly, replied Macbeth. As I stood on watch, I looked towards Birnam Wood, and I thought I saw it move. You're a liar, cried Macbeth. You may punish me if it is not so, the messenger replied. 3 miles from here you can see it coming, a moving wood. If you lie, you can hang from the nearest tree. If you tell the truth, I care not if you do the same for me. The witch's prophecy rang in his ears. Macbeth shall never be defeated until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane Hill. And now the wood is coming, Macbeth murmured. It is, then, the time for fear? Aloud, Macbeth cried out, Ring the alarm bell! Blow, wind, come, ruin! At least we'll die with our armor on. Macbeth waited at Dunsinane Castle as Malcolm and Macduff's armies marched on toward him. At the final moment, they threw down their branches and surged up the hill in full battle cry. Macbeth's soldiers hated him, and he had no stomach for a fight, but Macbeth fought like a man possessed. The witches had promised him no man born of a woman could kill him. He believed himself immortal. One by one, he slew his enemies until, at last, he faced Macduff alone. Get back, said Macbeth. I've shed enough of your family's blood already. I bear a charmed life. No one can harm me unless they are not born of woman, so I am safe. Said Macduff. I am not born of a woman. They cut me from my mother's womb before she could give birth. Macbeth lowered his sword in fright. I will not fight you, Then yield, coward. No, cried Macbeth, filled with desperate courage. I will not kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet. Though Birnam wood has come to Dunsinane, and you are not born of woman, I will fight to the last. When the bloody fight was over, Macduff held Macbeth's severed head in his hand. He kneeled before Malcolm and cried out, Hail, King of Scotland! We are freed from tyranny. My thanes and kinsmen, said Malcolm, we will call home our exiled friends that fled from tyranny, and bring to justice those who served this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen. Thanks now to everyone. I will reward each of you as you deserve. Come, I invite you all to watch me be crowned King of Scotland at Scone. Ooh, that was a heavy one! Wow, thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you next week when maybe we'll read something a little bit happier. We shall see. Bye, friends.